Yeah.
Cool, man. Well, great connecting.
Cool, man.
Happy
Yeah.
New Year. Where
Happy
were
New
you
Year. Happy.
located?
I am in Atlanta, so we're based out of Atlanta. What
Oh
about
yeah,
you?
Miami.
Oh, nice, nice. Yeah, so similar time. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Thanks for connecting, man. Appreciate it. Happy to learn more about what you've been doing. I mean, I see pretty much in the same industry. Looks like
yeah.
I looked at Pipehire. It looks like you have um, a cleaning service, and then you kind of branched off into SaaS, right? That's kind of
Yeah.
what you end up doing. Yeah, yeah, very
You're doing the
similar.
same thing, right?
Same thing, dude. Yeah, same thing, just different part of
Product.
SaaS for our industry. Yeah, yeah,
How
man.
long? How long you been in the cleaning business in general?
2016, maybe
Okay.
maybe like 2015. I started doing it myself, and it wasn't like fully launched, or it wasn't built out like it is now. It was just something for me to make money off of, because I needed money, obviously, and it was
Right.
more or less just putting the word out, me go do it myself, and eventually, while I'm doing that, created a website, started to convert everything to online, started to run some ads, just because I started having reoccurring customers, and then from there it just kind of grew, and as it was growing, the back end platform that I ended up having for Made to Glow, like in terms of online booking and um,
Right.
managing the customers and all that stuff, was something that I had a friend help me build out, and I couldn't
Okay.
afford. Yeah, I couldn't afford any of those solutions that were out there. And as it grew, that back end grew, and it was
Right.
a custom back end. But eventually, I was like, wait a second, like it grew because of pretty much the whole online aspect of it, and being able to allow people to check out, letting them pick this and that. And I was like, okay, well, I'm sure other people find the other solutions expensive. I'm sure other people can benefit from
Yeah.
this. And we spent like a year and a half ripping everything out and packaging it. And I was already in the industry, just like you are. So with all the, I guess, just being in the industry, I can reach out. I know what people are talking, what they're saying. I can answer
Yeah.
questions. It's very easy, and so it's been cool. What about
Yeah,
you?
I'm surprised. There's still people in the business not doing any online booking. They're just send
Crazy,
me an email, we'll send you a
crazy.
price.
Yeah, crazy, man. That's what I mean. That's why I was able to. We scaled into 2 other locations because I wanted to. Like, I wasn't familiar with other markets. It worked
Yeah.
in Atlanta, but I was, when I was trying to research, first off, I was researching like cleaning businesses to see what they're doing, because I didn't have experience. Like, what are they doing? Like, how are they coming into my apartment? I hired them initially to,
Yeah.
to to watch them, to understand. I studied. I watched the videos. Like, what are they all doing? And I had experience in e-commerce. I have experience with computers, and I was like, oh my goodness, like, dead phone numbers, um, terrible responses, terrible customer service, terrible websites, no online booking. It was all send me pictures of your apartment. When's the best time
Yeah.
for me to come by to do a walkthrough? And so I started doing it that way too, because I didn't know any better. I was like, cool, that's what
Yeah.
everyone does. And it's like, that's great if you just want to forever work in your business, not on it as
Yeah.
your sole owner, just working by yourself, because you can't get away from that. Because if you have to do walkthroughs to quote, that's like an hour and a half of my time just to give you a price that you probably may not like, and then I lose like $200. Like, I can't. You shouldn't be doing walkthroughs for $200. And that was it. Anyway, from there, just kind of snowballed. But over the course of
That's great.
Maidily and stuff, and talking to all these business owners, man, nothing has changed. There's just so many people that are still in this like outdated mindset. It's crazy.
And I don't know if you noticed, but there's tons of people starting the cleaning business like every day. It's
Yep.
a bunch of new
Yeah.
people entering the business, and most of them start the wrong way without online booking or coding and just
Yep.
trying to make it that way. And I
Every day.
think I know maybe I think probably 2% of the companies out there are online booking. The rest of them are just waiting
It's
for the quote email and
It's
calling and
tough, dude.
visiting.
Yeah, it's tough, man. Because when I used to onboard people, I would we had like very interesting periods because I mean, I probably ended up talking to a couple thousand people and before I completely stopped onboarding people myself. But it was like I would talk about some software stuff and they would be like, yeah, great, but how do you pay people? Like, how do you run your business? Because they would immediately know that, for example, you have Gmaids, they would immediately know that you're in the same industry. So everyone, maybe if you're still involved with onboarding for Pipehire, people end up having all these, well, how do you hire people? Well, how do you onboard them after you hire them? Like, what sort of paperwork are you giving? How are you paying them? Well, how are you managing them? And it's like, it got out of control because it took away from the platform itself. Like everyone was just, and still are, stuck in a very sort of, I don't want to say backwards, but a very like held back mentality that allowed people like me and some of our customers that are successful to just come in and just wipe out anyone and everyone in their, you know, in their little areas and grow their business. And just in a couple of months, like we had somebody that started her business last year, February, no experience, no nothing. I think I might have caught her and onboarded her myself. Zero experience, stay-at-home mom previously, 3 kids, all of that. Made $250,000. She's about to make $250,000 right now in February, just from utilizing everything that I don't want to say taught her, but just showed her and everything that we have. $250,000, stay-at-home mom, 3 kids, incredible.
Yeah, I'm hearing a lot of these. I started 18 years ago. Back then, there was none of this stuff. But I started doing online booking back in 2000, around 8. Yeah. Obviously, it was a simple form that I did on my website. But from that point, we kind of kept evolving our site until what we have today. We kind of built our own calculator as well, and then our own booking system.
Custom. Yeah.
And out of all those backends that we built, we basically, one of the first things we built was the calculator to price customers, and then the funnel to capture employees, because we understand that, and most people still don't, that we're in the recruiting business, and it's like a marketplace, right? Because you have the customer here, you have the employee here, and you have to be great at doing both things, hiring people and selling. If you know that and you understand that, you're above 98% of the companies, because now you understand you have to find people and you have to find customers, and that's really it. There's nothing more about these cleaning or in general home service businesses. So we took Pipehire. It's a component of the backend that we built, and in 2020 we released it out to
everyone. Yeah, well, that's amazing. How long did you spend? Like, it sounds like you did the same thing, except I think the best way, honestly, to do this, if you have the capability like you did, I saw it, is having your own custom back end, and that's the best way to fight.
All right, I'm recording already.
Perfect.
All right, so let's recap where you were discussing, and then we'll just keep chatting and see where we're headed with this.
I think the recap for me would be just in my experience, just talking through many business owners in the same industry that you and I are both in. It just seems like they're tremendously behind, like in terms of adopting technologies, adopting this idea of having an online presence. And it's something that we're trying to help with. It's something that I've been trying actively to help so many people with, just to help them succeed. And there's been so many success stories that we have on our end, just from people, and I don't want to say just listening to us, but at least just bits and pieces of what we're trying to provide in terms of resources for them to scale and grow their business, in addition to using something like Maidily, a scheduling platform. And it's helped tremendously. And one of the missing pieces in my book, and in so many other people's books, at least the ones when they start getting established, is hiring. I mean, that is, I tell people all the time, every time I've talked to them over the course of the year and a half, it's not about getting jobs. You'll be able to get jobs if you do things the correct way. There's enough space in the industry right now with a strong online presence to get plenty of jobs, but hiring is totally different. totally different game.
Especially after COVID, things just became worse to
Yeah.
find the right people. And we've been at Pipehire, putting out content out there, trying to teach people that it's not just offering a job anymore. You have to have benefits. You have to offer a good, work environment. You have to help them achieve their goals and their dreams to really get those people in the door, because they have Amazon out there paying college tuitions. You have, Uber with super flexible jobs. You have all these kinds of opportunities that sometimes a small business cannot provide. So it has to become like a real family and
culture.
The culture that they
culture.
feel they have. And especially, I don't know if it happens in your business, but most likely you're dealing with single women or that have 2-3 kids. Their husband left them alone with the kids.
Oh yeah.
They need more than a paycheck. They need support. They need friendships. They need people that cheer them up. So all these components really add into their paycheck.
That's exactly our profile type. Pretty much across all 3 locations, pretty consistent. I'm most familiar with Atlanta, obviously, just because this is where I'm from. This is where I started this, and I think it's late 2016, maybe mid 2016, and then by late 2016, I had a website, or it was more professional, and kind of started focusing on growing there. But very, very specific profile type. And I put a lot, and COVID really made a mess of this, because I put a lot of effort and time into, once I realized that the personalities and the traits and stuff, a lot of effort and time into teaching and helping everybody, how to run a business. I never wanted anyone to see this as their, all-time long-lasting life job. I wanted everyone to succeed, because I really felt like everyone could do this. You're struggling or whatever the life situation is. I felt like if maybe I can get through people somehow and teach them more about the business in addition to the actual execution of cleaning, maybe they can go off and start their own thing, and they can prosper even more, because we can only do so much for them as a company. But that was always my goal, is to teach. A lot of meetings, a lot of luncheons that I held, that we had, and kind of all got blown away by COVID, everything from the meeting in person perspective to business itself. So ever since then, it's been very difficult to not only find talent, but also compete.
Yeah, definitely. Let me ask you what I know a lot of cleaning businesses trying to get to their second or third location. Some people have the approach of growing one location very big and then ignoring spending time with another location. What made you say I have a good size in one market, I want to go to other locations? How's that thought process made you go there?
I think for me, it was a little different. I don't think it's going to be like a traditional way of doing it, because I started at that point. I had Maidily, and I saw the need. It was during talking with customers, it was software, fine, software is great, but how do I get jobs? How do I get jobs? And for me, it was never jobs. It was, how do I hire people? That was my problem. I already had experience with the computer, internet, the whole nine. And when I realized that question was getting asked over and over, I know what I could tell them. And I was telling people what I did, for example. I know it works. I was super confident that it would have worked outside of Atlanta even. And I just wasn't completely sure, 100% sure. So I went ahead, and literally one of the main reasons was to try to replicate what we did here, to make sure that it works in other areas. Still strategically looked and found those areas. We didn't just choose random cities. We choose demographics and city sizes comparable to Atlanta or bigger. Followed the same process that we had here. There had to be adjustments, because it was right before or as COVID was happening. It was impossible to travel, not going to have face-to-face meetings, had to use Zoom, had to get a little more creative. But overall, my idea was to always expand, obviously, into different locations. My initial thought for that was to expand into the suburbs from Atlanta outward, not even in different states. But as the software component came along, I had to make sure, I had to somehow see if maybe what I did here is just really specific to Atlanta, and it wouldn't work. And I should probably not tell people or guide people in this direction unless they're from Atlanta. But it did work. And it was successful. And like I mentioned earlier, we've had so many success stories from just people that I've personally onboarded that have killed it just in a span of a year. I mean, you know, someone opening up a business, which is just crazy to me. And it's one of the coolest stories because I remember talking to her last year. I think she opened it in February. So I might've talked to her in January or December of that previous year,
Right.
you know, with 3 kids and a single mom, she not a single mom, 3 kids, stay at home mom, you know, to open a business up and in a span of right at about a year, a little less, you know, a month off of this February, which is going to be a year, making $250,000 remotely.
That's impressive.
Is absolutely, I didn't do that my first year, even if you include all the checkout pages and all that stuff. Just crazy.
Yeah, I think it took me probably 5 years to get to $250,000 back in 2004.
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen people nowadays hitting $1 million revenue in like 3 years.
That's crazy to me. No, I made the first year, I made the first full year of having an online checkout page, which included the first couple of months of me just not having it and cleaning myself. I think her total was like 120,000. And I wrote an ebook about that. And I thought that was amazing, but there's people that are blowing that out of the water, and it's very cool to see. And I just
definitely,
the reason you caught my attention is because of Pipehire. Like, that's such a missing component in my head in terms of what's important and what people should know about owning a cleaning business. It's not just the cleaning. It's not just sales or getting jobs. There is a huge hiring component that I wish I had more time or effort into teaching them about.
Yeah, we were able to grow our business when we started building our own, or Pipehire for Gmates in 2018 to 19, because we were able to solve the scaling problem. But obviously, COVID hit in 2020, and that changed the game again. So now we had to implement all these benefits and things that will make the job even better. But I don't think this problem will ever go away. No. It will always be there. And anybody starting a cleaning business or any home service business has to be aware that you are a recruiter. You have to look for people. And if you clean houses, it's houses. If you paint houses, that's painting. But most people have to understand that you'll succeed in this business if you have the mentality of you're a recruiting company, you're an HR company, looking for people, because jobs are out there. You put an ad, and
they are,
you can drive traffic, but the real work is really finding the people,
the right people, reliable,
the right people,
the reliable people. I've had so many horror stories before I realized
crazy.
Like what am I looking for? I remember there was like this time where we had jobs coming in, and I don't know. It's a business. You open it, you're excited. You're not particularly using the best approach or the best mindset of hiring the right person. You just need to fill that spot to capture the revenue. And I made a lot of mistakes.
Correct.
Hiring too quickly, not hiring the right people, and not only losing that revenue, but causing issues with existing customers that they took on. And, I learned a lot. It's been hiring wise, I've learned a lot. That's not something I previously had too much experience with. And so for me, that was a roller coaster. And
that's a big shocker.
That's
a big shocker when people start this business. Now, how have you solved this, for your company? What's working for you now? What are some best practices maybe other people can learn from you? Can you share some of that?
Yeah. And for me, I think I mentioned briefly before, is coming back to what we kind of did before COVID hit. So we had a lot of luncheons. We had a lot of group lunches, team lunches, a lot of personal one-to-ones. That used to be done face-to-face. During COVID, we did them either via Zoom or through phone. Still do them via Zoom or through phone just because it is a lot easier for everybody, and it still achieves the goal. That personal one-to-one for me, and I'll share something else I also do with everybody, but that personal one-to-one for me is and has been very key, because I feel like a lot of things are shared. They're the persona, the type of person that we attract, at least for Made to Glow to work for us. There's a lot of personal life things going on, and
Definitely.
that one-to-one time allows them to share, allows them to not only tell us obviously what they don't like or what we should improve, et cetera, which is totally cool. I love hearing that, but just talking to them as people and seeing and hearing about their lives, and maybe there's somewhere, some place that we can step in as a company, or I can step in as an individual and help them. And that makes them feel like, I think you mentioned earlier, like part of the family, like it's a team. That's been the most helpful for me, is just being connected. It's not just assign jobs, make sure everyone's taking care of their equipment, follow up, check in, etc. There's more than that. It's still a business. It's different than other businesses, but it's still a business. There's still culture. There's still values. There's still people. The other thing that I like to do is, since the beginning, I've always been pretty transparent, just because of the whole online thing. I figured anyone can look on the website, right? If I don't show you the job cost or whatever the case is, try to hide it, you can look on the website. You'll be able to figure it out. You can price the job yourself, just like the customer did. So super transparent since the beginning. Loved having, it was monthly, and it's at this point it's quarterly, but it was monthly business check-in conference calls. So I would get everyone on a group line. Everyone would be muted, and I would discuss the state of the business, how we did the previous month, the direction where we're tracking, the growth. Because the reason I did this is because I realized, okay, I want to make sure that everyone feels secure. I want to make sure that, you know, I'm not next to you doing the cleaning. I want to make sure that you know that I'm also not just sitting at home with my feet kicked up. Like, I'm actually trying to grow this and scale it. You know what I mean? Like, I'm trying to grow it in a way that I can maybe use the resources to help you even more. And so that was a way for me to let everyone know that I'm doing my job as the owner at that point. And I love having those. I think those were great. It wasn't as much feedback as the personal one-to-ones. I often found that most people wouldn't really speak up too much when it was a conference sort of environment like that, especially when we're discussing business numbers. But I did find that everyone liked hearing about it, and hearing the fact that we're not failing or not growing or we're about to close our doors, because they rely on
a safe place that they can count with a paycheck every week.
Yes. Yeah. I found that very confidence, and instilled confidence.
Yeah. I do quarterly workshops. I live, out of Dallas, so I visit every quarter and do workshops. We bring them to lunch to, eat something and just have a really good time and, bond with them, connect with them. And I have a really good field manager that's really very close to them and really talks to the employees on a pretty much daily basis, and does, quality inspections, and also does the check-in with their kind of one-on-one personal meetings.
Yeah.
So this is a business of really, I think it's like, a shepherd and their, their sheep.
A good way to put it. Yeah, that's a good way to put it in a positive way. That's definitely kind of what it boils down to. And that was a lot of learning for me, because, the online world and everything that I'm in now, I was more of an online world before, transition into like just professional services, right? This is person to person, very different. Not much online until eventually it sort of scaled and I was able to be more hands off with that. But that was a very, very interesting learning curve. Taught me a lot about people, taught me a lot about hiring. And it's the reason why we're speaking, because it immediately caught my attention, and we both have like very similar backgrounds. The fact that you have a cleaning business is big, obviously. Made to Glow is, what I started here and eventually ventured into scheduling software components, or the scheduling software component of owning a cleaning business.
You're doing a great job. I look at the product and it looks pretty amazing. Building that pricing online calculator is a lot of work, and we keep tweaking ours, bits and pieces, and there's a whole formula behind that. And one of the biggest things I see people failing is they don't know how to price jobs, and when they have a call, they get nervous in the call, and the customer asks this, and how much is to add this bedroom, and how much is to add the pets, and people start to turn their wheels. And I feel like when you provide this online calculator and allow them to the customer to self-service and do that, it's a big relief for those companies that may not have a sales team or are just not very confident on the phone. I think this gives them a really big advantage of letting
Yes.
the customer price it out. So I
Yep.
think you're opening, the opportunity for more people to really get into this business. Because when I started, this thing was like, very on the phone, visiting people in their houses, showing an amazing presentation, giving them a quote on the spot, inspecting, measuring. It was like a whole show.
Yeah. Yeah.
and
It
it's a waste of time, and
it
there's still
is
people doing it. Some
a
say
lot.
that they can convert more, a percentage. I could say, yeah, that could be true, but when you put into consideration all the driving, the gas, the time
The time, yeah.
to close one customer, you
One
could close
customer.
5 customers online.
Yeah, you're so right.
So
I mean, I when I looked at Atlanta, you've been doing it a lot longer than I have. I wasn't aware of the current state of affairs, in terms of the business, the industry back then. I
yeah,
just looked at Atlanta, and even in Atlanta, which isn't the biggest city, in the U.S., but it's not small. There's a lot of
it's
advanced
a
things
big
here.
market. I think it's like Dallas. I see them very
Uh,
comparable in size and market.
Yeah, Dallas, Austin, Nashville comparable. Dallas, Austin, much bigger.
Yeah,
Nashville comparable, a little more comparable to Atlanta. But
yeah,
overall, I found that even here, back in 2015, 16, when I was starting to dabble in this, it was still like that. That's why I started the way I
yeah,
started, which was on the phone. Pictures. If I couldn't get to your house, if I was at another job cleaning, I would try to. I still want to close it. I'm not going to get to you though. I need some pictures because I don't have another way of quoting you. I still did it that way because the market here, that's still what they were doing. And this is
yeah,
2016, not 2008. The reason I went into this like online shift is because I was like, man, I was carpet cleaning a house with 6 bedrooms and
hmm,
carpet cleaning. So I hired, that was one of my first hires that was helping me clean the house while I was carpet cleaning. So I'm carpet cleaning, it's a loud machine, obviously. You
right,
go slow. I can't carpet clean and clean the house. Somebody else has to also be helping me. So that was my first hire. My phone was ringing. I can't answer the phone when I'm carpet cleaning. Okay. So either I stop the job and answer the phone for 20, 30 minutes, maybe by the time you and I work out the quote, or I ignore it, lose sales, and focus on finish.
correct,
It blew my mind. And I was like, this is impossible. I know that people scale this and succeed. I'm
yeah,
just not seeing it in Atlanta. So I looked in other places throughout the US, and that's how I found these online checkout pages, these booking forms that even then don't look like they do now. And I
yeah,
just immediately was like, that's it. That's the way. I subscribed and adopted that entire mentality. I didn't care if I had
totally.
to change my pricing. I knew that was the way, and that's what I ended up. That's kind of like how I figured all this out. I didn't, invent online checkout pages or anything like that. I just saw that other
Right.
people were doing it and
Yeah,
subscribed to that mentality 100%.
definitely. And that's the way to go. You know, now with, the mobile phones and,
Yeah.
people want instant pricing, and that's the only thing they care when they look at your website, really. Most companies try to tell them a big story about, we
Yeah.
started with 2 buckets and a broom and
Yeah. Exactly.
la 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 la. People
Oh
just want
my
to know how
goodness.
much it costs, if can I
Exactly.
afford it or not, and when can you
Yep.
come.
Yep.
That's it. That's it. They don't need to
Simple.
know. They don't want anything more than that. And when you provide that very quickly on the homepage, you're 95% ahead of the rest of the
Ahead,
companies that
man.
are
Exactly. Yep.
waiting for an email, waiting for a call, waiting for a quote.
The
And
pictures, yeah, so right, man. That is exactly what I used to spin the story up. We're a local business. I'm based out of Atlanta. I just
yeah,
thought, how much is it going to cost? If I tell you that it's going to cost $1,000, you can think I'm a great guy, but you're going to hang up the phone. It never mattered, honestly, because it's
yeah,
not how this industry really works. There's not too much brand association. It's just how much does it cost? And, if you do a good job
correct.
and it costs an affordable amount, that's great. And that's why we put the pricing calculators and all that as an option for people to put right on their website, right on the front page, because you want to just make sure you get that over with. Like as soon as you drive traffic to your website, if you can just show them some pricing, if they like it, they continue. If they don't, they're going to be out. So it's such a correct statement.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
You know, I don't know if you're old enough, but I will remember when we had to buy tickets in a, for airplane tickets at a place. I'm from Colombia, so we had to go to a place, purchase tickets, and you will take a couple of hours just to sit with somebody, your travel agent, and give you the tickets to travel. And imagine that the airline industry would continue to do the same as today.
No. Yeah.
I mean, it wouldn't
It's
be
impossible.
impossible
Yeah.
to run this. And I think we can send a message to the industry, say, hey, you're still in the, that old 80s model, going to your travel agent to book you a ticket. You have to be like today's world. You have to
Automated.
just provide pricing instantly, and you take your
Yes.
ticket and you fly, and that's it. And I hope more people adopt this. And there's, I like what you're doing, and there's other systems out there. But definitely this is the way to go, and I applaud you for what you're doing. And
No, I
I'm
appreciate it,
sure
man.
you're gonna grow a lot more.
Hey, don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment on this video, and tell us what was your biggest takeaway of the interview. Also, follow us on Instagram at PipehireHRM, and join our Facebook group so you can learn how to hire, manage, and retain more employees in your home service business. Hey, before you go, if you're planning on hiring and growing your headcount and revenue for your home service business, check out pipehirehrm.com.